Today, what we're going over is the quotient rule. We're going to be taking notes on it first, and then you're going to be going over the assignment. So the first thing we're going to cover is the basic quotient rule. So if you have a problem that looks similar to this, x to the power of a divided by x to the power of b, that rule, all you do is just subtract your exponents. So then you'll get x to the power of a minus b. Okay, so let's do a couple of those examples together. Our directions, it says find each quotient. So we've got number 1 there, x to the power of 5 divided by x to the power of 3. Our answer is x to the power of, and then just do that 5 minus 3. So then we get 2, and then that would be your answer there. I just started notes, so just follow along here with me. We've got our basic power rule here. All you do is just subtract your exponents. I did our first one. Going on to number 2 now. We have k to the power of 12 divided by k to the power of 2. So then our answer, we get k to the power of, and all you do is subtract your exponents. 12 minus 2 is 10, and then that would be your answer there. Okay, next one, number 3. We have m to the power of 3 divided by m to the power of 3. You get m to the power of 3 minus 3 is 0. But for this one, anytime you have anything to the power of 0, there's a rule that you have to remember. Anything to the power of 0 is always going to be equal to 1. That's a super important thing there. Anything to the power of 0 always equals 1. Okay. Next one, number 4. So we've got multiple variables. You still follow the same steps. Let's look at our first variable, a. So I have my a, and then all we do is subtract those exponents. 6 minus 2 is 4. Okay, then we can go on to the next variable, b. Subtract your exponents. 4 minus 3 is 1. So then you get a to the power of 4, b to the power of 1. But just like normally, like if you have an x and you don't see a number there, we know there's an invisible 1 in front of it. Kind of the same thing with our exponents. We know there's always going to be an invisible 1 for our exponent if you don't see one there. So if you can always put your 1s there, you can always just erase them or rewrite it. A to the power of 4, b, and then there's an invisible power of 1. Okay, so this is how you would simplify and write your final answer here. You would not have that 1 there because it is invisible. We know there's a 1 there, we just don't see it. Let's keep going. Number 5. We've got our first variable, which is p. And then all we do is subtract our exponents. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then our next variable, we have q. Subtract your exponents. 16 minus 12 is 4. And then there you go. That one's finished. Let's do one more over here. Number 6. Our first variable is x. So here's the x. And then subtract 20 minus 5 is 15. And then our next variable, y. Subtract your exponents. 9 minus 9 is 0. We're just going to write it down like that for now. And then we can come back to it. And then our last variable, z. Subtract your exponents. 2 minus the invisible 1. Remember, if you don't see the exponent, there's an invisible 1 there. So you got 2 minus 1, which is 1. Okay? And then sometimes you need to clean it up. Specifically this y to the power of 0. If I look back up at the question that's right above it, anything to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. Okay? So that y to the power of 0 really equals 1, okay? So it's pretty much saying x to the power of 15 times 1, because when they're next to each other, they're getting multiplied, times that z to the power of 1. That's really how you would write it. But since we have other things here like the x and the z, we don't even need to have the 1 there. because anything times 1 is just itself. So I'm going to even go one step further for simplifying. X to the power of 15. And then I'm just going to take that 1 out. We don't need it because it's not really changing our problem. And then my next variable is z. And then that power of 1, again, it's invisible, so it's not needed. So then there is our final answer, x to the power of 15 times z. And we don't see the 1 there for the exponent for z because it's invisible. Okay, so those are just variables only. But sometimes we'll have some examples with coefficients. That's the number that's in front of the variable. But what you do here is you just divide the coefficients, divide the numbers, and then you use your quotient rule for the variables. Okay, so let's look at number 7. We've got, first, let's look at our numbers. 6 divided by 2. Do that first. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so here's my 3. And then we can go on to our variable x. All we do is subtract our exponents. 4 minus 3 is 1. So I wrote it there so I can see it, but you could even go straight to your final answer, and you don't even need to write it. You could just go straight to your final answer. We know there's a 3, we know there's an x. And then if you know in your head your exponent is 1, you could just be like, boom, done, I got my answer. I don't need to write down the 1 because I know it's there, I know it's invisible. And then you could be done with it there. Okay, so that's your answer for number 7. It's just 3x. Let's do another one. Number 8. First, we can divide the coefficients or the numbers just like normal. 14 divided by 7. 14 divided by 7. So then we get 2. And then let's look at our variable. First one's r. So we've got r to the power of 2 divided by r to the power of the invisible 1. So I put my 1 there. And all we do is subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. So I'm going to put my 1 there just so I can see it. And then our next one, we've got the variable s. Subtract your exponents. 2 minus the invisible 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, and then from there, let's clean it up a little bit. The exponent of 1, it's invisible, so it's really 2rs, because both of those exponents of 1 are invisible. So if you just went from here straight to your final answer, that is fine as well. I don't need to see this step, unless if you want to show every single step. When you're first practicing and you're struggling with it, I recommend showing every single step with your 1s and then cleaning it up throughout the way. I'm going to go on to number 10 now. I'm just kind of skipping around a little bit. Number 10. First, let's look at our numbers, the coefficients. We'll do negative 15 divided by negative 3. So we've got negative divided by a negative is positive, and then 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, so here is the 5. And then we can go on to our variables. My first variable is x. Look at your exponents and subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. So I'm going to put my 1 there. And then my next variable is y. We have our variable y. Subtract your exponents. 5 minus 3 is 2. And then this variable z, just bring it down here since it's already on top, because everything is always over an invisible 1. So technically, yes, it's still staying on top. I'm going to erase that over 1 because it's invisible. Same thing as this one right here. It's invisible. So you can either erase it, or you could have just gone straight to your final answer, which is 5x y to the power of 2 z. Okay, that would be your final answer because that 1 right here, it's invisible. Let's see. Let's do number 11. Number 11, we can first divide our coefficients. And this one, the bigger number 8, it's on bottom, it's the denominator. So this one, our answer, it's going to actually stay as a fraction. So I'm going to keep it as a fraction to help us with simplifying, because we need to divide top and bottom by the same number. We can actually divide both of these by 4 to make our fraction a little bit smaller, reduce our fraction. And then 4 divided by 4 is 1 over 8 divided by 4 is 2. So once we simplify our coefficients, the numbers, that 4 over 8, it really turns into 1 over 2. And then we've got our variable n. Subtract your exponents. 5 minus the invisible 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. And then that is it. Nothing else I need to clean up there. I'm going to skip number 12. So if you wanted extra practice, you could even go back and do number 9 and number 12 and check your answers with the answer key on Schoology. But I'm going to go on to our last little section here for our notes. It's a mixed practice. Our directions, it says simplify each expression completely. So it's going to kind of combine things from before that we've already learned previously, as well as adding in the stuff that we just learned today with the quotient rule. So let's look at number 13 first. So we have this whole thing here, the 3x to the 5th power. All of that is raised to the 2nd power. So let's go ahead and do that first. So let's first do 3 squared. That's the same thing. Whoops. 3 squared. That's the same thing as 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay. So I've got 9. And then I'm going on to my variable x. This is the power rule, which is, I think we did it Thursday last week. It was last week. But the power rule, you multiply your exponents. You multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, so I've cleaned up my top section. All of this is really equal to the 9x to the 10th power. I cleaned that up. Now let's look at our bottom. This 27x to the 3rd power. There's nothing to really clean up yet, so I'm just going to rewrite it. 27x to the 3rd power. Okay, and then now we can go on to what we were working on for today, which was the quotient rule. So we've got our coefficients, the numbers 9 over 27. And again, the bigger number's on bottom, so I'm going to rewrite 9 over 27 as a fraction. And we're going to reduce this fraction, divide top and bottom by the same number. For this one, we can actually divide both of them by 9. To simplify and reduce, 9 divided by 9 is 1 over 27 divided by 9 is 3. Okay, so 9 over 27 is really equal to 1 over 3. And then we can go on to our quotient rule with the variables. The next thing is my variable x. And subtract your exponents. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then there you go. That's your final answer there for number 13. 1 over 3, x to the 7th power. Number 15. Again, very similar to number 13. Let's first clean up our bottom here. First, we have our power rule, 4 to the power of 2, or 4 squared. That's really equal to 4 times 4, which is 16. So down here, I've got a 16. And then I got my first variable, w. Remember, power rule, you multiply those exponents. If you don't see an exponent there, we know there's an invisible 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And then we go on to our next variable, v. Multiply your exponents. 1 times 2 is 2. And then this top section, let's just rewrite it. 12w to the 9th power, v to the 4th power. And then it's back to what we did today, quotient rule. Start with dividing your coefficients, the numbers. And again, bigger numbers on bottom. So I'm going to leave it as a fraction. We're going to divide top and bottom by the same number. And we can divide both of these by 4. Then we get 12 divided by 4 is 3. Over 16 divided by 4 is 4. So that 12 over 16, when you simplify or reduce your fraction, you get a 3 over 4. And then we've got our quotient rule. Go ahead and type in the chat, or you can turn your microphone on. So here's my variable w. What's my new exponent for w? You can type in the chat, or you can turn your microphone on. What's my new exponent for w? This is what we covered today. So it's the quotient rule. All you do is subtract your exponents. I see someone typed in 7. Perfect. 9 minus 2 is 7. Awesome. And then going on to our last variable, v. What's my new exponent for v for the final answer? You can type it in the chat, or you can turn your microphone on. And I see 2. Perfect. All you do is subtract 4 minus 2 is 2. And then there you go. That's your final answer there. Okay. So that was our notes. And I left a couple of them blank. So 9, 12, 14, 16. If you wanted to get more practice with an answer key available, you can do that. Or you can even send me a message and I can work with you more on that. But another thing today that you're working on is the quotient rule assignment. So I'm going to go on over to that. So now we're looking at the quotient rule assignment. So today's kind of a busy day. You got the notes and assignment for today. So for the assignment, what you guys are going to be doing, you're not going to do all of them. You're just going to go down that middle column mainly. Let's see, let's circle. So 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. Then you can see our last 2 questions down here, number 19 and 20. There's only the 2. There's no like 3 of them, so you can't really pick a middle one. I'm going to let you guys pick and choose which one you want to do. You can either do number 19 or number 20, but you are definitely going to do all of this middle column. You do not need to do these ones. You do not need to do these ones. You're going to do the middle column and then pick either 19 or 20. Or if you want to do both, that's fine too. Let's see here. There's a little bit of work for those. So actually, I'm going to give you guys the answers for number 19 and 20 in case if, or for whichever one you pick, just so you can check them. The final answer for number 19 is 18a squared. That's your final answer. All you have to do is go back and show your work. And then the final answer for number 20 is 5x squared y to the 7th power. All you have to do is go back and show your work. Okay, so it's a combination of those. You pick either 19 or 20. You don't have to do both of them unless you want to be crazy. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And you're going to do that middle column there, okay? But if you have questions, you can type in the chat now, turn your microphone on, or you can send me a message. But that is pretty much it for today. So if you feel good about it and you're ready to go, you can go ahead and log off, get started on that, take a picture of it when you're done. And that's it for today. So if you have questions, you can ask me now, send me a message, or you can just log off if you feel good about it. So if you're leaving, bye.